I like fast cars, you probably also like fast cars, but something that probably neither of us like is very expensive fuel bills. So in this video I'm going to talk to you about 5 cars that are pretty mad fast, depreciated pretty significantly as well from their starting prices, and they all have great fuel economy as well. It's as simple as that. Let's get straight into it. Do hit like if you like this kind of video, subscribe as well if you're new, and without further ado, let's get into the video. If you're an avid viewer of the channel, you know I'm a big fan of cheap luxury cars, so the relatively new previous generation Mercedes S560e L is right up my street, given it's dropped by more than half its price in the space of just 4 years. You can get these massive long wheelbase luxury Mercs for around £45,000 at the bottom end, and 50k will get you a 2019 model with around 50,000 miles on the clock. And though yes, it isn't an actual AMG model, getting one of these is effectively the next best thing, and to be honest, in the world of luxury cars, it's the luxury you care about much more than the speed. That's not to say it's slow though, as a 3-litre twin turbocharged V6 engine combined with electric power to produce 482 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 4.8 seconds, which is pretty good for a car that's over 5 meters long. The best thing about it being so big is how incredibly well equipped it is, as there's space for as many amenities as you fancy. The idea behind this car was to make something that destroyed all limousine competition below the level of a Bentley, which I think it does quite convincingly, with its reclining rear seats, the separated infotainment for passengers, and the high quality materials used throughout. But the point of this video is fuel economy, which this car also dominates. First of all, it will do 80 miles per hour on electric power alone, and has a ridiculous combined output of 128 miles per gallon, which incredibly isn't actually the most on this list, but we'll get onto that later in this video. Basically, you're driving around in a luxury car that usually has a chauffeur driving it, looks incredibly expensive, and you're beating most people when it comes to running costs, and you're probably beating them off the line as well. It's pretty insane. Now that Merc is a lovely luxury car, and we're stepping down in terms of luxury now to something a little sportier, but still not as sporty as the rest of the cars on this list. The second generation Porsche Panamera e-hybrid is a properly cool looking car with great performance and still enough luxury and practicality to keep you happy, and to be honest, as it's less of a chauffeur car, it's a bit more focused on daily ability than the Merc. It comes with a 2.9 litre twin turbocharged V6 engine, again combined with electric power to produce 455 brake horsepower, which you get from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. Properly good performance considering it's not even the range topping Panamera. The second gen car was bigger than the first gen in most areas and taller too, benefiting in particular from a far more modern interior and infotainment than the first generation car. It really is very well equipped compared to its competitors from Mercedes and BMW, and as always with Porsche, minus some of the center console plastic, it feels amazingly premium in there. On the exterior of the car, it was designed to be as 911 looking as possible, specifically around the rear of the car, where the first generation got a bit of stick for being too hatchback-like, and though they're not quite in our price range, the Sport Turismo body shape in particular is my absolute favourite. But maybe more impressive than all the rest, it will theoretically manage a combined 113 miles per gallon, which is pretty ridiculous when you compare that to the performance. It is quite expensive though, starting at £47,000, with £50,000 getting you a 2017 model with around 80k on the clock. And the key benefit of a Panamera is that they've generally been pretty reliable. Some of the first gen hybrids did suffer a little bit later in life, but generally the new generation has been pretty solid outside of a few recalls. How much do I really need to say about this car? Next up we have a car that I am genuinely on the hunt for as soon as A, I have the money together, and B, I find one at the right price in the right spec. If you want to support that goal, do drop a like on the video and let me know in the comments what spec I should go for. But one of the core benefits of getting an Alfa Romeo 4C that I'm not sure many owners think about before buying is the fact that compared with standard cars, they really do have great fuel economy, managing a combined 41 miles per gallon. Pretty good for a car that looks as stunning as this. It comes with the second smallest engine on the list, a 1.75 litre turbocharged inline-4 engine that makes 236 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.4 seconds, which is made possible by just how light the car is. It's under 900 kilograms dry weight, and that ridiculous figure comes as a result of its carbon fiber chassis, which you'd expect to find on way more expensive cars in a car that now starts at around the £40,000 mark, with £50,000 grabbing you a 2016 model with around 10,000 miles on the clock. The thing with this car is that it wasn't really properly properly finished by Alfa, and you can tell that by one major thing. Look at the fitment, particularly on the rear of these. It's horrendous, and once you see it, you really can't unsee it. Luckily, there are multiple handling packages available with spaces to get those wheels to stick out that little bit more and properly fill the arches. Reviews are pretty aggressive around the lack of power steering, the plasticky interior, and the overall finish of the car, but genuinely, having driven one, if you're into more raw cars and cars that really have a wow factor, I honestly don't think there's a better car at under £50,000. Go check out my review if you want to hear more. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. A quick reminder, if you are, do hit the like button. 1,000 likes now will decrease the price range right down from the 50k mark we're at today to around about 20k instead. So if you want to see the same video again at under £20,000, do hit like. One of the main competitors to the Alfa Romeo 4C is the newer Alpine A110, another properly cool small sports car, which of course has some additional intrigue today as the car that fronts the F1 team. It also has one thing over the 4C for sure: it doesn't have the insane fitment issues. Irrespective, it's got a 1.8 litre turbocharged inline 4 block that makes 248 brake horsepower, taking it from 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds, matching the Alfa, which it also does with the miles per gallon at a combined 41. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments actually. If you could have either the Alpine or the Alfa, which would you go for? You already know my answer, but the Alpine is also a lovely car, taking inspiration from the original A110 that dominated the 1973 World Rally Championship. It's important to get the right spec of it though, as on release it came as a pure base spec, Premier Limited Launch Edition with some aggressive forged alloys and Sabelt bucket seats, and then finally the Legend trim, which is basically the more luxurious setup for the car with comfier seats and higher overall quality materials used for the upholstery. I personally would go for the Premier model if possible, but that's just a preference thing. The only thing I'd say that might detract from going for an A110 right now is that in 2021 Alpine signed a deal with Lotus Cars to support the development of the next generation, which in my books means we're likely to see a far more aggressive, far lighter and far more performant car hit the market in 2025 when it's expected to be released. Though of course it will likely be a lot more expensive overall, whereas to get into one of these you'll need to spend around £43,000 at the bottom end, and 50k will get you into a 2019 example with very low mileage, as in genuinely around 5,000. Taking the top spot is not only the quickest car on the list, it's by far the best in terms of miles per gallon. The BMW i8 has set the standard for how a hybrid sports car with supercar look should be. And what's incredibly strange is that it also has the smallest engine on the list, a 1.5 litre turbocharged inline 3 block combined with electric power, meaning it puts out a combined 356 brake horsepower, taking it to 60 in 4.3 seconds, and it will do a combined 134 miles per gallon, officially at least, but that does mean driving on the electric motor alone for some time like the other hybrids in this video. Owners I could find have generally hit around 50 miles per gallon and at most the 80 mile per gallon mark, but honestly that's pretty insane for a car with scissor doors. The design is not a million miles away from a car it took inspiration from, the BMW M1, and in fact the aesthetics are pretty similar to the M1 homage concept car. BMW really smashed it with the i8, I have to say. It doesn't just look amazing outside and in, it was a genuine success, becoming by far the world's best-selling plug-in electric sports car. In fact, it has more sales than all of its competitors put together. Considering all the above and the fact that it was a six-figure car when new, it's pretty mental that these start at around the £37,000 mark, and £50,000 will get you a nice 2016 model with around 30,000 miles on the clock. What makes it even better is that generally the reliability really isn't that bad, which is always a bonus, and yes, there have been some recalls and a few electrical issues in particular, but net there's a lot of positivity around how dependable these are. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you to the patrons as well for their continued support. But if this isn't your price range and you want to see a bunch of ULEZ compliant cars that are under £1,000 instead, go click up here and that video is available for you to watch right now.